All right, it's live now. Brilliant. So, namaste, good evening, and a very happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Happy to have you all as the integral part of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven family. And we look forward to listening into all your stories and learning some great life leadership and learning to learn lessons from all the stories that you would be sharing with us. And a warm namaste and welcome to all the people who've joined us on Facebook Live to listen into your stories. Over to you, Itu.
Thank you, Jerry. And today, as Jerry just said, we have Valentine's Day special. We're talking about love, and love has no language. Love has all the colors that you find in the rainbow. And we're talking about inclusiveness in love. So, the word inclusive or the aura or the environment of inclusivity is to let people be, just be. And this fosters the culture of respect, belonging, and learning. And in this learning culture, we also learn to respect and accept. And neuroscience says that respecting and accepting fosters learning, takes us forward through our differences, also brings in opportunities to learn, develop kindness, and also learn and develop and bring growth. Today, we're going to be talking about inclusiveness as a value and also inclusiveness as a conscious mindset that is very, very important to be present in humanity, in people, in cultures, in society. And that is what we are celebrating today. Nature is the best example of inclusiveness, variety, beauty in all its forms and glory. And to be going away from that inclusiveness is the nemesis of the society. So we are talking about that perfection is a farce that we lay upon ourselves, because there is nothing called perfect, and the beauty lies in imperfection. So today we have 7 stellar speakers with us who have paved path of inspiration for all of us and for people at large, and we call them the unbreakable, unshakable, and unstoppable, the moJOsh Magnificent 7 speakers today. So a very warm welcome from Rex Karambi fraternity to all of you. And before we begin, we'd like to show you, everyone, the movie, a small movie that was created long back. So over to you, Jerry.
It's a small video, not really a movie, but a small video, which is basically what we put together in 2014 when we first embarked on the journey of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven. And the simple premise of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven is that in life, there is not a single person or a single human being anywhere in the world who can escape suffering, struggles, adversity. Breaking is an important part and an essential part of life, and most of us try to avoid that suffering, try to avoid that adversity, try to avoid the struggle without realizing that the suffering and the struggle actually makes us better, makes us more tougher, and makes us more resilient, and makes us more stronger. And I think that's what the basic premise of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven is, that in life, at some point in many, we all break. But when we break, do we give up and break down? Game over. Or do we persevere and break through with grit and resilience? Then game on. And that's what the Magnificent Seven, the moJOsh Magnificent Seven heroes are all about. People like you who have not broken down, even though you are broken. Right? People who've decided and chosen to break through. It's a choice that we make. And the outcome of that choice is that you have major breakthroughs in life. So that's the video that we put together simply to explain to HR heads and learning heads way back in 2014 what the concept is. And happy to say that over the past 9 years, we've touched many lives in corporate events, award functions, conferences organized by Toastmasters, Rotary, Lions, BNI, etc. And now we are planning to make this into live ticketed public events so that more and more people can benefit from it. So let's watch the video to understand what the basic concept of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven is.
much, Mr. But still, I want to create a pathway for several other millions like me.
How does it matter if I have paralysis neck downwards? The human spirit is far, far more stronger than anything that can happen to it. I decided to dedicate the rest of my life towards motivating people to let them know that they don't need to give up in life.
I was gang raped, brutally gang raped, but I chose to speak against it. The shame is not on me that I was raped. The shame is on the rapists who raped me.
I had no courage, no hope. There was nothing that I had. And somewhere I sought the ability to recreate myself. So I gathered the pieces and recreated myself.
That my arms and legs were fractured at birth and I developed no muscles there through my lifetime. In class 12, I studied even harder and topped the country in business studies and sport writing.
I think a hero is a person who does something which is very small, but which makes a significant difference in society.
So that's the spirit and the ethos and the ethics of the moJOsh Magnificent Seven. We celebrate true stories of real heroes, people who refuse to break down and people who've broken through. And I think over the past 9 years, it's been a Herculean task to curate these stories from around the world. And every time we do an event, we meet people in gatherings, we meet people in events who say, my mother has a story, I have a story, my sister has a story, my brother has a story. So the stories keep coming, and I think it's the feeling that the audience takes away is that if these people can break through, then what am I whining and crying all about? Because if they can do it, so can I. And I think that's the big learning which people take away from any of the events or the oratory experiences that we've created over the past 9 years in several conferences, award functions, offsites of corporates, etc. And the other big thing is that today being Valentine's Day, it's all about love of humanity, right? And I think diversity and inclusion is a rhetoric which most corporates use, but unfortunately they don't practice it, right? And it's taken a lot of effort to get people from the LGBTQIA plus community to be accepted at the workplace, to be accepted in society. And especially in a country like India, where I always say that we are not only the world's largest democracy, but we're also the world's largest hypocrisy. So we'll invite people from the transgender community for our weddings or when our child is born. But when we see them on the streets, when we will make nasty remarks about them, or people from the LGBTQIA community, we will talk about them as being abnormal. And I've never really understood what are these human beings talking about, because which human being is actually normal, right? It's like saying differently abled. And I always said, they are not differently abled, we are differently disabled. And I think that's the reason we chose Valentine's Day, to bring all of you together, because the stories that we celebrate in the moJOsh Magnificent Seven are not just stories of people who are physically broken, but also people who are broken emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and also morally, right? So we have several people who are criminals, who are drug traffickers, murderers, but they've reformed and they're now doing something good for the betterment of society, for the betterment of humanity. So that's what the moJOsh Magnificent Seven is all about. Over to you, Itu, to invite our first speaker and start the moJOsh Magnificent Seven with all our friends from the LGBTQI community.
Yeah. So here we are going to begin the epic stories of resilience, moJOsh sagas of integrity, courage and passion, stories of grit, courage and perseverance of the real heroes from the LGBTQAI+++, Valentine Day special. And we start with Christina. And over to you, Christina, to tell us more about you and your story.
Hello, good evening, namaste, sat sri akal to everyone. A very, very, very warm and happy Valentine's Day, or rather Valentine's evening, because we've already crossed the day. So, hi, Itu has already mentioned my name. I am Christina Evers, who was born into a man's body and a female presently. I'm a transgender, a trans woman, or a trans person that you could call me. I take pride of who I am, and I stand out in the world not by of any sickness, but by choice. I'm a trans woman by choice, a trans person by choice. At birth, I was also sexually abused. You could call it rape, that most of the people call in today's world. But that did not break me down. Yes, I wasn't aware of good touch, bad touch, because I am from an era of 80. When my uncle used to carry me on his lap and take me out every evening, touching me inappropriately, I thought it was love. When I used to go and tell my parents, though I did not live much with my parents, they used to tell me, no, that's just love. I come from a community or from a religion background that's known as Anglo-Indian, half Anglo and half Indian. So even today, when I go out with my name, people ask me the very first question that they ask me, are you an Indian? How do you have an English name? So yes, even now, it is a very, non-acceptance in the society that I keep facing. So since I used to be abused by my uncle and some local people from the area, I was also bullied. I studied in a boys' school because, yes, I was a boy at that point of time. So I joined a boys' school and I was studying there. But yes, because of me being soft-spoken, a lot of people used to take advantage, used to bully me. Why do you behave like girl? So even I did not know, being very honest, that why I used to behave that way. I mean, this is not the way that I should behave. After that, what happens is like when you go ahead and complain the same thing to your parents, they do not pay heed to it, saying that, no, this is nothing like that. And they try to hide it. Why? Because what would the society think or say? Not knowing the consequences that the child, or rather me, would have faced emotionally, mentally, psychologically. I was broken not once, not twice, but zillions of times by my own people. So what do I expect from the society? I've been teased, called names like Hijra, Chakka, Eunuch. And people call me by the same names. Not all the times, but yes, sometimes. I felt lonely most of the time, all through my life rather. And I always wanted to run away from my house. My mom, she did give me a birth. I'm a product of my mother and father, but I take pride in only that. Never been supported by my parents, financially or emotionally. But yes, during the last days of my mother, I lost my parents last year, but during the last days of my mother, she accepted me. And I'm happy about that I was able to make a place, capture a place in her heart. I've been teased, called names by my own siblings as I used to grow up. So when everyone used to leave home and go out for some or the other work, I used to try wrapping around or draping a sari of my aunt. And people used to say, oh, देखो, फिर से ये औरतों की जैसे तैयार हो रही है, ये तो पक्का बड़े होके छक्का बनेगी. So I was eager to lead a life of my own because I had this, that, okay, fine, why do people keep rejecting me? Why do people keep hating me? What is it that I could do to become a better person in life? Why am I not getting love? Do I not deserve love? Or there's nothing called love? So in 2003, since I was born by my, I was brought up by my godmother, who used to be my dad's elder sister. And today is her death anniversary. I lost her in the year 2012 on the 14th of Feb. So it's a very, very special day. I left Calcutta in the year 2003 to find space, to find a world of my own. And I moved to Gurgaon, which is known as Gurugram right now. So I started working in a company called GE Capitals, which is also known as Genpact right now. And I've learned a lot from there. I would rather give some credits to Delhi and Gurgaon because the LGBTQI plus community, I wasn't aware of it. And I knew so much. There was so much to learn from people in Delhi. They just didn't bother about what you wear, how you look like, where you go, late night parties, going, holding a guy's hand and walking on the street. Being a boy, you have grown your hair. Being a boy, you're wearing a kurti. Being a boy, you're wearing dresses. It didn't make a difference to people. So I felt more accepted in that society, in that state. And I started attending a lot of parties. I started attending, a lot of house parties where only the LGBTQI plus community was available and present. That gave me a lot of hope. That thing told me that I should not break down. I should not lose hope. I should live a life that I have always dreamt of. It's not a sickness. It's a choice that I had made. And once again, I take pride in that. So once I started working out there, I started getting to know, okay, fine, yes, there is a world beyond what people think, what the society think. And I moved into a new world. I got my transformation done. I started from 2008, taking hormones, going to the endocrinologist, going to, psychologist, psychiatrist. You had a couple of sessions after session, going for laser therapies, laser sessions and everything. Once everything was done, I took this big step that I need to do my gender reassignment surgery. In 2010, I walked into the hospital, the doctor I used to be in touch with. I take pride that I was all by myself in that hospital, registering myself, filling up the forms, giving consent to get my surgery done. And it was successfully done. The happiness, once I got to know that I have been transformed into a full woman, that happiness no one could take away. The nurse came to me and she told me, ma'am, hats off to you. I've never seen a lady like you who is all by herself in the hospital, treating herself, achieving her dreams, doing what she always wanted to do, despite all the hurdles, all the rejections that I faced in my family, despite all the hunger, all the nights that I stayed without food, despite me taking shelter in a park during rainy days, I had the courage to walk into Delhi, Gurgaon, with only 500 rupees in my pocket and a job in an MNC. So when I got to know about this LGBT community, I got my surgery done and everything. That day was the happiest. That year was the happiest year for me. But yes, it's always said, man proposes and God disposes. Many do not believe in God, but I have the strong faith. So when I had when I did the surgery and everything, but things were not going the way I wanted to. So in 2011, I had to come back to Calcutta. And yes, the journey I started, the happiness that I shared with myself, came to a halt all of a sudden. So 2011, when I came down, the very first time in my entire life, I was scared when I was at the Delhi station, waiting for my train with all the luggages. I felt like a woman and I felt I wasn't safe in this society. I was at the station, probably I was one of the few females who stayed there at the station all by herself, and the men around me were just leching at me. Their eyes were so scary, the body language was so scary. I was like, did I make a mistake? Then I told myself, no, this isn't a mistake. I've been strong enough to handle all of these, even my surgery all by myself. I can face the world. I can face everyone. But yes, as we always say, that society does not accept what you accept. I was rejected by the society the moment I stepped into West Bengal. I'm also associated with NGOs right now where I believe that I need to serve humanity, share love. I've been awarded Social Hero Award by the NGO Humanity for You and Me. And I've recently got an award for Women Achiever under Queen's Entertainment by Kolkata Heroes. So what I just believe is we all must share love. Above all, religion, humanity, and love should be the highest of all the religion. So yes, nothing can put me down. Nothing can put any of us down if we have that courage, if we have the dream, if we want to achieve something, we can. You need to inspire yourself if you want to be an inspiration in this world. Lastly, I would like to thank the last organization that I was associated with, Tier 5. Ankita Nandi is the managing director and John Vaughan is the CEO. Shantanu Dhor is the general manager out there and his wife, because they had given me a lot of courage to once again be who you are. And from that time, there's no looking back. Thank you, Itu, and thank you so much, Jerry, for giving me this opportunity. I know it's like my time's up, but thank you so much. I really appreciate the way Itu guided me, the way Jerry guided me. I used to always take this pride, but I was also humbled by the words that Itu has shared with me. We all have this learning. We grow and we learn each day. So love to all. Happy Valentine's Day. God bless. And yes, the society, here I come to uplift the LGBTQI+++ community. If you want to stop me, please come and stop me. I will keep moving as a woman. I will take the pride and I will bring the community to the highest level. That's my promise.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was a brilliant story, such a lot of lessons from the story. And thank you for sharing it with all candor and speaking so candidly about your life's journey and your life story, about what happened to you as a child. One of the things which, as a corporate trainer and a leadership coach who works with companies around the world, I've realized that, everybody has this diversity and inclusion week, etc. And yet people who are from the LGBTQI community, plus community, and Savio taught me about the plus part, are often looked down upon at the workplace. And, in 2018, I was very happy when a company called Tech Mahindra did something and took a drastic step in action against a person who said something very nasty to a person from the community who was one of the employees. And Tech Mahindra decided to fire the lady there and then. And mind you, she was the HR head of Tech Mahindra, which means that she was the custodian of diversity and inclusion. Now, the reason I'm narrating this incident is because this woman had major biases against people from the Islamic community and people from the LGBTQI community, right? And Sabaz is sitting with you, who is from the Islamic community, and he's also from the LGBTQIA community. And I was very happy that corporate India had decided to take a drastic step and fired the woman on the spot. I won't name her over here, yeah, but she was somebody who had attended a training program with me earlier, and I could feel those biases. And I kept telling her that, as an HR director, as an HR head, you can't have such biases about people, because they are all human beings and they deserve an opportunity to work and prove their mettle. So treat them based on merit. Don't treat them based on what their choices for their gender are. Now, what I want to ask you, Christina, is you worked with a company like Genpact, which is a very testosterone-driven company. Did you face any such issues over there?
No, initially when I joined Genpact, I joined as a guy. Okay, it was in 2003.
Right.
But slowly and gradually, when I started transforming myself, the acceptance that I got from that organization was worth praising. The female colleagues of mine, they used to literally like treat me as a female and not someone who's come from a male-dominated society. My body was transforming slowly and gradually. But in their mind out there in this company, Genpact, they had already transformed and seen the change of who I wanted to be. So no, Jerry, I've never faced any discrimination in Genpact.
At the workplace, you never faced any discrimination at all. So
No,
you're
at
one
the
of the lucky.
workplace, if I say Genpact, no, I've never faced, but other companies I did face.
All right. Is it because Genpact has strict policies on this?
Yes, Genpact does have strict policies, but those days there were no such policies.
No, Genpact being an American company, because their policies are all made in the United States of America. And the United States started accepting people from the community long back. I mean, much before India, even legalized the entire thing, right? So that's what I'm saying. Was it because it was driven by policy? Because you faced exclusion or marginalization in other workplaces, what I'm hearing you say. And I know for a fact that in Indian workplaces, there's huge discrimination and marginalization against the community.
I have faced discrimination from US-based organization in India.
Okay.
Especially in Kolkata.
Okay.
So I really don't care whoever leads Kolkata or whatever. The truth is truth. And you can't hide it. You can't stop me from speaking the truth. In fact, yes, of course, I've never faced any discrimination. But yeah, there were times that certain people used to walk up to me and tell me, why do you dress up like this? Why so many junk jewelries are you wearing? I mean, as a guy, you shouldn't be wearing. I said, I have a choice. I have something called choice. This is my choice, how I want to dress.
Very true.
But yes, the support that I got was extraordinary. It was tremendous.
Excellent. Thank you. Over to you, Itu, if there are any insights that you want to share. I think there were some brilliant life lessons over there, how you don't break down no matter what happens to you. And I hope your uncle gets his just desserts, but over to you.
He's no more.
Okay.
I'm also glad that in Delhi NCR you got treated well, because Delhi NCR is also fanatical in its own way of, not being great place as well. But all said, the race to fanatical approach to perfection is also in reality a road to doom. So, that's what we are talking of, choices here. And Christina, you talked about choices, and we at Rex Karamveer talk about that choices make our destiny, and our destiny is in our hand. The God is within us, and that helps us to make the right choices and create our destiny. So from there, we move to very effervescent Nikki, and she's very versatile, very effervescent. And over to you, Nikki. I'm not going to talk much about anything. You're going to talk all about you. So over to you, Nikki.
Thank you so much. Thank you, E2 and Jerry. I'm really honored to be on this platform today. So good evening, namaskar, and hello to everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. I'm so glad that today is Valentine's Day. I've often had the opportunity to do something on Valentine's Day. I do come across as a great lover, but I think my husband would disagree to that. That was a joke. I really wish there was an audience to laugh. Nevertheless, yeah, this is what technology does. So My name is Nikki Ray, also known as the Mad Bai. I would love to tell you a little bit about the Mad Bai as we go along, but for now, I'm going to start with my story, which is called "Privilege is a Perspective," and I feel that we've been talking about choice. We also have the choice of our privileges to turn a situation into a privilege. So let's hear about this today, irrespective of the fact that we are, what our gender and sexuality and financial status, educational background, or society, social status, or whatever it is. Everybody must have experienced that at some point in your life, somebody or the other will have some kind of an objection with the way you are, with who you are, with the way you dress, with the way you walk. And so before I begin, I'm going to share a little narrative. When I met my current husband, which is the only husband, thankfully, I've ever had, I am also looking for a wife because I'm bisexual, but we can't do that in this country yet. So we'll leave it at that. However, when I first met my husband and he sent a photograph of mine to his mother, she wrote back by email saying, "Oh my God, you've become so thin and this girl is so fat. She needs to lose some weight." So I replied to her, and this point, I had never even met her. It was just e-communication. I wrote back to her saying, "I think your son's fine. And if I lose some weight, then you'll start, if he gains some weight, he'll become fat. If I lose, then I'll become thin. So this will be a never ending story. So let's decide to never address this again." And in 15 years, fortunately, it has never come up. Which led me to the conclusion that, in this society in general, let's consider that there were only there were four people, and their names are everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. One day there's an important job to be done, and everybody is sure that somebody will do it. Anybody could do it, but nobody does it. Somebody gets angry about that because it's everybody's job. Everybody thinks that anybody can do it, but nobody realizes that everybody won't do it. It ends up that everybody blames somebody when nobody does what anybody could have done. And the truth is that these four people live within and amongst all of us. So we don't need to accuse or condemn anybody. We are all what we are supposed to be. But is it not possible to create a better version of ourselves constantly through our actions and through different kinds of work to enable others in this society, to enable, to mobilize and to create better communities and better support networks without blaming one another when, that somebody and anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. This takes me back to a quote that I read when I was in school, and it stayed with me forever. And it's amazing how it circled back to my adult life. The quote said, "If you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours." It's really amazing how we undermine the power of a smile. It can change somebody's life. It can uplift an individual. It can, pull somebody out of the dumps. Of course, it can sometimes have wrong connotations too, but we can't be too careful all the time, and we're not responsible for other people's perspectives. So from being an extremely lonely child growing up in isolation to becoming a popular speaker and performer, my journey has been a roller coaster of emotions. When you're rejected for everything you do as a child, you really start questioning yourself. I've always, from a very young age, been a sensitive human being, reflecting and responding to my own needs as to those of others. However, I spent many years of my life blaming others for what I did not have and what I could not achieve for whatever reason. And then one day I realized, of course, that nobody in this world wants to live a boring life, just pay bills, clear their loans and then die. We all want to live a wholesome life, which is fulfilling and goes beyond the routine and gives us a holistic sense of being. However, as perfect as this sounds, it isn't completely possible all the time. So when I created the Center for Creative Transformation, and we launched the Vibrancy Festival, which was India's first diversity and inclusion festival with a focus on mental health. I realized the difficulties of putting something together for a community. At that time, my objective was to give people tools to sustainable happiness, because we get so immersed in the mundane that we forget to acknowledge that one can only experience life fully if we learn to embrace the bad along with the good, the sadness with the happiness, and the darkness with the light. And in this endeavor, I always aim to empower people to acknowledge and control their emotions, to deal with situations effectively. As a mental health worker for over a decade now, I've been trying to reach out to as many individuals and communities as possible. And I look forward to making people cognizant, and myself at the same time, of the fact that happiness is a renewable resource and can be experienced and refilled whenever need be. And I'd like to share a little story with you about sustainable happiness. A lot of people have asked me, what is sustainable happiness? Can we stay happy all the time? No, we can't. But here's how you can renew your happiness time and again. Just as we are all conditioned to believe that we need to make money in life because money can get you everything. Money can buy you everything. It can buy you happiness, I don't know, whatever. I wanted to make money from a very young age too. So I didn't wait to get a degree or anything. I started working very early, because of which I have worked in so many industries and job profiles that my resume is a nightmare for a person who wants to interview me. So I just stopped giving interviews. I thought being an entrepreneur might be much easier. I can answer the questions in my own head. Nevertheless, after my master's degree, I got a job at a high-profile international school with a big fat paycheck and multitudes of benefits. I was so happy that in the 4 years that I worked there, I never visited the accounts department, even if there was a mistake in my salary. Soon after joining the school, though, I developed much anger and hatred towards the students and the expat families and the teachers that were working there, who were really well paid. But at the same time, they were not happy. They did not appreciate what they have, and they didn't have a lot of gratitude actually for what they had. And I realized that working with this anger is only making things difficult for me. And it's an emotional turbulence, right? You can't go to work if you don't like the people that you're working with. So I decided to change and turn around this situation and go back to being the happy person that I am. Now, comedy and mimicking have been one of my strengths from a very young age. And I think I because it comes naturally, I just learned how to use it as I went along. The bus ride back home would usually be very boring because half the people would fall asleep and the remaining would just be gossiping about what other teachers did and wore. So one day I stood, at the front, and I started entertaining the teachers or the bus passengers, and I started cracking jokes, and I pretended to be this fake bus conductor. So when everybody came to swipe, I just, say, give me your ticket. Hey, ticket, then baba, hey, ticket. So that kind of stuff. And initially people really didn't like it because they're like, oh my God, we want to sleep or we want to gossip. Why don't you just shut up and sit there? But finally, I didn't give up, and finally there came a day when people actually started enjoying it. And if there was a time when I wasn't entertaining them and I'd go straight and, sleep at the back myself, there would be great concern, like, oh my God, is Nikki okay? What's happening to her? So I'm glad that I got through their hearts. And when I resigned, for the next few weeks, when I wasn't going to work, people would message me that the bus ride has become so boring. This not only encouraged me to face my fears of stage fright, but it also taught me a very important lesson that it takes time to make people laugh and happy, but you can succeed if you keep trying. And I also told myself at that time that, so what if I didn't personally have the opportunity to go to a very big fancy school, when my childhood was very different and didn't have these privileges. What I can do now is I can make use of this library, these teachers, and re-educate myself. And that's exactly what I did. I'd spend a lot of time at the library, I'd hang out with all of the teenagers, learn from them. So that was a great experience. It taught me that life, in life, one should be a life learner. The second part of my story is again related to the school. One day, as I was walking towards the bus stop, I asked myself, I was very upset, and I asked myself, is all the money that I'm making the solution to all of my problems? I'm still going back home, there's problems at home, there's need for more money now. And it really made me realize that this situation never ends, which means that our happiness does not lie in money, but it lies in our hands and what we do with it. So I soon resigned from the school with no clue what to do next. And of course, on the last day when my lovely colleagues gave me a send-off, many of them asked me, oh, so what are you going to do now? You haven't applied for another job. And I said, well, I'm just going to live life. I got the wackiest and craziest stares that day. And of course, that was the beginning of a whole new chapter. Post that was born The Mad By, a fictional character that I created to address mental health issues and many other taboo and unspoken issues of society. Was born the Center for Creative Transformation, Vibrancy Festival, performance stories, and a whole lot of new community engagement. I changed my methods of the way that I could work in the field of mental health. However, the sudden loss of a big income and many privileges, a failed business, and at that time I also had a fallout with a friend after many years. All of these things, they sound very little, but at the time when we are going through them, they're very difficult. And so I had a severe bout of depression. And even someone as strong as me broke down. And I finally, one day, I just told my husband, I said, I really don't have the willingness to move on anymore. And I just want to end my life. I was amazed at how, he stayed calm, and he just looked at me and he said, he was really surprised because somebody like me, who's always a fighter, suddenly saying something like that was shocking. But he stayed calm and he said, you know what, we'll get through this. Let's find ways to bring you back to the world. So from that point, I picked pieces of myself together, remembering inspiring things that my friends had done, that the people I knew had done, what they had achieved. And I also reconnected with my best friend, comedy. Over the years, I've been able to entertain many people, from senior citizens to children to teenagers to people with depression. As a counselor, I also use comedy as a very major tool in therapy for my clients. If you meet my clients, they're very, very happy and they don't come back to me after a few sessions because I just empower them to go and make themselves happy and make other people laugh. And one day, while I was struggling and battling with all of this, I remembered something that a friend of mine used to always say when we did our masters together. One day she turned around and said to me that, Nikki, you have a very encouraging smile and it gives me a lot of strength. So don't stop smiling. That moment, that day was very empowering for me. It's amazing how people always know what to say to you at the right time. Whenever you need the message, if you're open enough, you receive it. So from that day on, there's really been no looking without smiling for me. I realized that just a simple smile can do wonders for other people. And you would ask, what am I doing here speaking today while this is, we have an amazing gathering of LGBTQ individuals? Yes, I do. I am known as a bisexual woman. And while I am married to a straight man, so that brings a lot of backlash because a lot of people, well, you bisexual people, you have the best of both worlds. It's not about having the best of both worlds. Everything about sexuality doesn't end up about sex. It's about companionship at the end of the day. So being bisexual, I have also faced stigma. A lot of people who don't know, because I don't wear my sexuality on my forehead. I don't see the need to. But a lot of people who don't know that also ask me, why do you work with this LGBT community? Kya milta hai tere ko udhar jaake in logon ke saath? So you get all of those things, and it really amazes me. Even there have been people who I have worked with for years, and at some point I felt comfortable enough, or maybe it has come up in conversation and I brought up my sexuality. And you won't believe it, these were really open-minded, educated people who just stopped talking to me the next day. Well, not that I really cared. I waved and said goodbye, Maurice. Um, you go your way, I go mine. But I guess that's just how life is. So one of the key things that I learned is that there is no substitute for action in life. Only you can change your life by doing for yourself and for others. And as an old Zen quote says, a man who knows others is wise. A man who knows himself is enlightened. Only knowing yourself will help you help others. In the words of my ma, we are intricately interconnected beings. So I would say that each one of us should live a deliberate life, motivated by need for meaning and purpose in everything we do. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing bigger than networking in a supportive way. And when I say networking, it doesn't mean that I say, oh, I know E2. Yeah, I know her. She's this lady from Delhi, she does this fantastic work. But do I really know E2? Do I really know Jerry? Do I really know the people who I am on this call with? Is there a time when I can say, hey, you know what, Simran, I'm reaching out to you for this? Or, hey, if Christina feels she needs to reach out to me, she should be comfortable enough. And I feel that by being connected, we can become stronger individuals for ourselves and for others. So thank you so much for hearing my story today. And thank you so much for having me on the moJOsh Magnificent 7. It's been a real honor.
Thank you, Nikki, for sharing your story. Brilliant story again after Christina's story. And I must tell you that you have done a Nikki on us. You've gone much beyond your 9 minutes.
I'm
And
so sorry.
actually bordering on around 17 minutes now. Anyway, but it was a very interesting story. And, all the stories that we curate, we're actually compiling a book, which is another series under the Karma Kari title, which is called Karma Kari Karishma. No relations to Karishma Kapoor, of course, but Karishma, I always use Hindi words because Karishma basically means the miracle. And most of us are always trying to find that miracle in some holy shrine or an ashram with Sadhguru without realizing that the miracle is within us. And we would like to profile all your stories in Karma Kari Karishma, which also has moJOsh lessons. moJOsh is a concept that we created, which has all life, leadership, and learn to learn lessons. And I must that we've studied like over 25,000 research papers from the best minds from around the world, not only professors and people who've done their doctorates, but also people who are students and have written some brilliant papers on human potential. And I think after listening to yours and Christina's story, the big lesson for everybody who's watching is that there's unlimited heroic potential within you. Is it latent or have you done something to unleash it? Therein lies the choice. And we've studied over 10,000 true stories of real heroes before compiling the learning. And what we've realized is that, the 5 intelligences must be taught to people, and that is not what they teach us in school and college. And then we've broken these 5 intelligences into 0 plus 3 mindsets, 7 virtues, and 21 powers. And love, humanity, purpose, compassion, empathy is a very integral part of the learning. And what research shows you, studies done by some of the best think tanks in the world, is that the 3 most essential skills of the future are learning to learn. You spoke about educated people who don't understand what that is not just about physical sex, right? They don't understand that it's more than that. It's about the love that you feel for different people, right? And they won't understand it because though you call them educated, I always say they're merely degreed. Having a degree does not make you educated. You could go to an Ivy League institute and you would still be an idiot, right? In Goa, we say shinkon brut, which basically means after all the education, you're still an idiot. And that applies to almost 75% of the educated mass, right? Because we go to school and college and we study, we don't learn. We don't surely learn the 3 most essential skills of the future, which is learning to learn, emotional intelligence, and empathy. And of course, we've also kind of in our moJOsh learning included moral intelligence, which is a very ignored intelligence, which is all about character rooted learning. How do you make the right choices based on righteousness and what is good for the world, right? And thank you for sharing your story, Nikki and Christina. I think that set the tone for other stories to follow. Over to you, Itu.
And one thing that Stella comes out with Nikki's story is acceptance, acceptance of all emotions. And when we are breaking down, we are going through negativity, we're going through various emotions, and that's when we accept, then we are also ready to take action. And one of our slug lines is not just talks but ideas for action. And thank you, Nikki, for bringing out stellar lessons from your story of taking action to whatever you're feeling in life and making something out of it and paving a path of inspiration.
Yes.
And from there we move on to Ria, our youngest participant in the moJOsh Magnificent 7. She's all of 20 plus, and she is going to tell us her stellar inspiring stories. Over to you, Ria.
Thank you, Ritu, for setting up the stage. And I want to acknowledge that I exist because all the people here have existed before me, and I feel privileged to be 21 because I didn't have to fight that struggle of law of letting people know that we are normal and we are valid, because all of them were already fighting for me. So I'm deeply grateful for all the elders and all the people who have existed before me to bring me in a position of privilege, and I'll be talking about that today. So yeah, I mean, before I start, I want to share a very special quote that I've kept close to my heart, which is that your story may not have had a happy beginning, but that does not make you who you are. It is the rest of it who you choose to become. And I've got this quote from Kung Fu Panda. Of course, I'm 21. My references would be childish, but it has really changed my life to remind myself that I am worthy and I hold value in this universe, and I can actually become a Krantikari. But honestly, I was in this 10 years ago. I was this queer teen struggling to find meaning in life amid suffocation, bullying, discrimination, and it has been a long journey to attain this version of MX Ria, because back then I did not even know that I could call myself that. But I knew one thing, that nobody deserved to feel the way I did back then. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to be the change maker, and I wanted to be that lover of humanity. The reality is all of us can be that, because we as human beings are born to spread love and kindness, and all of us can be revolutionaries regardless of the identities that we are assigned at birth. And that is something that I've realized over a period of time. And the special part is, if you're listening to this right now, maybe you have the kind of privilege. Also the fact that I'm talking in English, and that gives me the privilege that, only people who understand English will be able to understand this. And we need to acknowledge that. So I mean, I had privilege when I was born. I was born with the privilege of religion, of my caste, but I was marginalized by my identity of gender and love, just that. So my story was written a little differently from the rest. When I was 5 years old, I with my dad would do my illusionary shaving my beard routine, and that became a safe space for me when I didn't have any. That was my space of self-love, the only time that I could feel comfortable in my body. And at 12, I started menstruating because I was born into a female body. And that was also the time where a recording in my mind would go on that I had to accept that I was a woman and disregard the feelings of my heart and soul. And that was a really dark time for me, because I didn't know where to go. And I didn't have any representation online to say that, yes, this is who I feel like, this is who I am. Also the time when I fell in love for the first time, butterflies in my stomach and all the romance that went on. But somewhere, even though I hadn't seen the world around, I was yet just 12 years old. I knew that I had to hide my identity. And the hopeless romantic person that I am, I wanted to share it to everybody, right? But I couldn't do that. And I realized that my story was definitely going to be different, but I was not going to stay silent. At this point of time, of course, it was hard, and I needed some refuge, a safe space. And for me, that were my parents. I remember that when I came out to them, I was crying, but there was still glitter of hope in my eyes because I knew that after this come out, my life was going to change for good. And my parents' response to it, they said that, Priya, I don't care whether you are lesbian or gender fluid. We only care that you are a good human being and you want to become a change maker. And that actually changed my life because my parents come from the same generation. They belong from the same society. Jahan log kya kahenge matters a lot. But they have taken a stand for themselves and for me, and that's really inspiring. For example, my dad, even in this Pitra Satta se bhara hua society, he very proudly always introduces himself as, Rakesh Sharma, my pronouns are he and him, and I am a father of a lesbian and gender fluid person. He also wears rainbow bangles every day to work. And my mom does not shy away from talking about my reality to anybody. And she cares a damn about what the society says, what neighbors say, what my house help says. Everybody knows knows about my identity because they stand by my side, and they are my pillars, definitely. Now, at this point of time, with the privilege that I've got of my religion, caste, and accepting parents, even that is a privilege. I acknowledge that. I now knew that I was responsible towards many people right now. I was responsible to do my bit for the society. I was responsible towards all those queer teens and kids who felt unheard, isolated, and unloved, like I did. And let me tell you that it was not a hard journey. It was not a difficult journey because I have had the privilege, and yeah, my story is different because of the privilege. But there was this one time which really broke my heart and also uplift me, where I was pushed out of a first class compartment of a running train because I supported a hijra friend of mine. And the sad part is that she said that it happened with her every day because of her identity, where when she would go to the women compartment, the female compartment, she would be disregarded because everybody said that she was not a woman. When she would go to the general compartment occupied by males, yeah, she would be disrespected, abused, discriminated. And she thought that maybe, in a first class female compartment, there would be educated females, right? And we are talking about education here. I realized that it is not about education, it's about heart, what you choose to become, how you choose to be, how you choose to use your love, how you choose to use your privilege. And definitely I was heartbroken because young Ria, filled with love and hope and empathy, thought that the society was better. But regardless of that, I was now aware about the intersectionality that exists within our identities, and I was definitely not going to stay silent. After that, I took my story to TEDx, something which was really my dream, because when I was younger, the only right kind of representation that I had was TEDx talks by Parmesh Sahani, Harish Iyer, Durga Gavre, and they are my pillars even now. But when I remember that day, I was standing on that red dot, right? And I realized that it was no more about just me. Although I was going to talk about my personal story, it was about everybody. It was about the queer, not so queer, healed, unhealed. Everybody deserves to be heard, right? At that point, I knew that I was becoming a hope. I was becoming an inspiration and hope, a representation for the LGBTQAI plus Z, whatever's going to come in future. So that representation which I craved for when I was younger, right? But something which I want to put forward is you don't have to do grand things, or you don't have to give a TEDx talk to become a Krantikari or to become a change maker. Ask yourself today, with where I am right now, what is the tiniest act of kindness I can do today? With the heart that I've got, how can I share love, right? With the privileges that I've got, how can I put it to good use? You can ask yourself these, and you can start now itself, right? You can put your pronouns in your bios, you can put your pronouns in your signature section, and maybe that can make somebody feel heard somewhere in the world, right? That made me feel heard. Maybe you can speak about your journey. Maybe you can pass on the mic to somebody else, to somebody who's less privileged than you, and let them share their story, because we are about love, we are about passing on the opportunities, right? Maybe you also need to just let people be and be yourself. Maybe you need to accept yourself first and then share your story, because I understand that you cannot fill somebody else's jug from an empty jug, and that is something that I've realized after my heartbreak. But yeah, that really changed my life, right? When I started activism, I was just sharing my story, and that was all the activism that I was doing, and it became an hope for somebody else. And I didn't know that I was a social worker, right? And I questioned myself, was I doing work? Because I was just sharing my story with the privilege that I have. But yes, if it was becoming an hope for somebody else, that matters, right? And you can do it too. Uh, Even when I started my journey, I was confused with the alphabet soup, right? With the pronouns, with all the identities. But I realized that you don't have to, maybe get all of it. All you have to do is just respect people's identities. Because if you ask yourself right now, even you may have different identities, right? You may have 100 identities, and maybe somebody will not understand one of it, right? And you will be marginalized because of that, because other people don't understand it. So maybe that can be your contribution to the society, that you just accept people as they are. You don't judge people the first time that you see somebody, right? What is the first thing that we do when we meet a new person? We look at them, we judge their shoes, we judge how they look, we judge them by their hair or the makeup that they choose to wear, right? Let's not do that. And that is the change that we can bring about. That is social activism, trust me. And I'm 21 years now, and I have been fighting for my rights since I was 16. And I've had various encounters with very funny people, very ignorant people, very phobic people. I am always questioned about my identity by my gender when I choose to be open about it in the society. I have been asked to prove my gender a lot of times in airports, in malls, just because I have short hair, just because I choose to wear masculine clothes. But I don't feel rage anymore right now like I did when I was 16 years old, because I understood that it's not one person that you can blame. It is all of us. It's you, it's me, it's the government, it's the past generation, it is the present generation, right? Because when notions get so ingrained, we don't question ourselves. We get very comfortable with it because that's a comfortable way to be. We don't have to ask ourselves, but we would just never progress, right? That way. If you have to make a flower bloom or a plant bloom, you have to cut the old leaves, right? To make it bloom fully. So if we stay with the past notions, we would never grow as a society. And so that is something which I really want to put forward. For me, growth is also kindness. And kindness, I think, has become so rare that when we witness it online, or there are these short videos on Instagram or Facebook about kindness, somebody sharing kindness, we get very overwhelmed. I cry every time I see that, because I feel like it has become so rare that we feel that it's special, but that is the way to be, right? And towards the end, I want to say that, we talk about spirituality or culture. We talk about how LGBT is not cultural or not spiritual. But in Christianity, if we talk about the line, the metaphor that, love thy neighbor, and if your neighbor happens to be gay, just love them. That's being spiritual, that's being religious. In Buddhism, there's Maitri, compassion, so true spirituality is accepting that, right? And question yourself, was this at birth? We were actually a clean slate at birth, and the society plagued it with discrimination and biases. One of my favorite authors once said that, ask yourself, if everybody has the mindset that I have, how would the world be? So think about it. And I want to put it forward that you have the potential to bring about a change, and that's more than you think. And let me also remind you to be proud of yourself for how far you have come. And there is more light to look forward to, and that light is actually within you. It's not outside, it's within you, and only you can choose to acknowledge it and share it with the world. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you. Seems like everyone's doing a Nikki on me now. Yeah. so, so you also gone over time. But great story and great life lessons from a 21-year-old, especially about giving. You know, when I started the Joy of Giving movement, which has now become a global movement, and people give a little money or old newspapers and clothes, and I find that to be very arrogant and very mindless, because the whole idea of the Joy of Giving was to give of yourself, give your time, give your involvement, give your effort. And I really like what you said. You can't, if you can't do great things, do small things which would make a which would make a big difference. And you know, when you spoke about your father and your you know, how they stand by you and the choices that you made, I remember an incident, you know, and I just shown the video, the same Magnificent Seven video that you saw at the Kolkata Lit Fest, the PJ Kolkata Literature Festival. So there were around 1,000 students, 200 teachers, and a young girl gets up and says, "Jerry, uncle, why can't my parents understand that I'm a boy trapped in a girl's body?" And for a moment, I was dumbfounded, because here was a girl who had such integrity and courage that in front of 200 teachers and another 1,000 students, she stood up and accepted and declared what her sexuality was all about. And all I could say to her was that, you know, I won't name her in this forum because she's not here. All I could say to her was that you have great self-awareness, which your parents don't have. So forgive them, for they don't know what that self-awareness basically means. Because we start wearing masks, and psychology studies it as persona. We start wearing masks because we want to show society something that we are not. And I think that's the big learning, is that the zero mindset, virtue, and power that we have in the moJOsh Inspirator Life Leadership and Learning to Learn lessons, right, is vulnerability that you would see at the right hand corner. And most people think that vulnerability is a weakness. It is a weakness in the dictionary. But in life, in the human space, vulnerability is power, because it teaches us to empathize with others. It teaches us to be compassionate. It teaches us to be tolerant. It teaches us to accept people as they are. It teaches us to keep an open mind, right? And it teaches us most of all to understand that all of us have our own struggles. So let's not make life more painful for each other, right? So you know, I mean, like I keep saying, you know, during the pandemic, we heard this new normal, old normal very often. And my question always has been, when were human beings ever normal? Right? All of us have some abnormalities, whether we like to accept it or not. And therein lies the concept of perfection, right? The perfection, and like we say in our moJOsh Inspirator lessons, perfection is the biggest lie of the world. The truth of the world is continuous improvement, kaizen. And improvement starts by changing and transforming our mindsets to be accepting, to be inclusive, and to, you know, to love all human beings as one. And I always say, you know, that we as human beings, we need to unbelong. We need to unbelong from a caste. We need to unbelong from a religion. We need to unbelong from a city. We need to unbelong from a state. We need to unbelong from a region. We need to unbelong from a race. We need to unbelong from a gender, and learn that we are all one. You know, all of us are bound by a invisible umbilical cord, like I say. And if we don't understand that, we can never understand how to accept all human beings as they are. So thank you for that story, Ria, and my salam to your parents. Over to you, Itu.
So thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Ria, for bringing out the inclusive consciousness here, and also inclusive mindset here. And we at the moJOsh Inspirator, we also talk of great parents make great leaders, and that's exactly what we see here. That their thought process and the way they accepted you also paved path for a lot of people to be inspired to say that it's okay not to be, you know, in the defined structures that the society wants us to be. And We have another slug line at Rex Karambir. We say, together as one, we can right every wrong. And if we do not stand up for the wrong that is happening in your neighborhood, in your area, wherever, then you are part of the wrong. So let's create the right. And from there, we move on to Savio. And let's hear from Savio your story. And hope you're not going to do Nikki Ria on us and stick to your 9 minutes. Thank you so much. Over to
I'm
you.
gonna try. I'm gonna try my best.
Actually, I must say over here that it was Christina who started it. Actually, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
So
before I begin, I want to take like a minute, and I want to thank you, Jerry, and Itu for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Nikki, for highlighting me as one of the people who was able to be here.
you're
And
welcome.
I must say, I don't know if anybody else feels it, but being in the presence of Simran is a big deal for me. And I'm very happy that I'm here with her. So that's something I wanted to say. And Ria, you really make me feel like life is better because you exist, and people like you will really change the world that we want to hope it will become. So on that note, I'm going to start with my 9 minutes, and I'll try my best to stick to it. All right. So as everybody knows, my name is Savio. I'm Savio Mascarenhas, and I'm a gay activist. Well, life has not been so easy, and I'm sure everybody agrees because nobody has life easy. But growing up gay is a very traumatic experience for a child, and to top it up, if you're a Christian gay child, then it's like it comes with its own baggage. Now, being a millennial is a different task altogether, and we can talk about it some other day. But over all of this, I was molested since I was 8 years old. And then I was fighting the depression around it as an unwanted friend in my life, with, of course, family issues and being teased for being effeminate. So you could say life was not really normal, like Jerry was talking about before. Despite of all this, I want to talk about how I decided to come around it and how I didn't have any means to cope up for any of the depression that I had, but somehow I tried to make meaning of my life. And since then, it's changed. So as a child is just a child for a parent. And if parents accept their children for the way they are or how they are, they have won half the battle and their child has won half the battle. And that's very important. That's one thing that parents need to know. And so I want you to hear me, you parents, if you're listening, so that you know how you can make a difference in the life of your child just by listening to my story. And in the end, I want to talk about my very own 5-year-old baby, my NGO called the Color Positive Foundation, which really changed my life. So yes, so to begin with, as I said, my life, like no other, was not, normal. My mom's side of the family adored me, but I had to come back to my own home and live with my parents. And that shift in love and the attention from, my grandparents and all my aunts, and then coming to a home where few people are there and nobody has the time, that became a bit traumatic. And parents should understand that moving from one place to another is not just difficult for a cat or a fish. It definitely takes a toll on their child. So you should always consider this, something which we usually ignore. Now, I was molested when I was 8 years old. I do not know which trait of mine attracted them to me, but I must tell you that it was of no fault of mine. And I can say that now. But back then, it was not the same feeling. I was always a believer of Christ and very prayerful. When I read the Bible, I read that I'm going to go to hell because I slept with someone of the same sex. And that is where the depression that I already had became worse. And this was when I was around 12 that I read in the Bible. Now, that depression of being not loved by God and accepted by God, that really shook me. And for a child, it's very special when they're very prayerful and everything. So it wasn't really comfortable knowing that I'm not going to be taken into heaven or however it goes, for a child. But then I began to blame myself for everything, to hate myself for being someone who allowed this to happen to him. I kept thinking it's my fault that I was molested, and it was something I did basically. But then again, is it my fault that I keep going back? Because I kept going back to the person who was my molester. My family, like many others, had a lot of problems, and love and affection was not something we really expressed at home as much. But getting attention of this sort, even from a molester at that time, seems like it's a good thing. And because a child cannot differentiate between an apple and a poison apple, so I really just went with the flow. So then I dwelt in my own emotions while being molested and thinking that this is my own way to get some affection. But as I said, children cannot differentiate between these things, and it took me time to realize that. But until then, my depression had gone like to the next level because, of course, I was also effeminate growing up, and my effeminate behavior was very, very, difficult for me to curb in a way. And I'm saying curb because I wanted to put everything away and start behaving normal to fit in the society, and that was very, very challenging. But by the time I was 18, I'd learned to say no to my molester, and they all went away, luckily. But the effects of feeling used, that stayed on. And I got into a lot of financial problems because of spending on things and people so that they can remain my friends. It made my emotional well being very difficult. I was easily identified as effeminate even then, and I was harassed at work for it as well. Every time I felt used would remind me of the two instances of rape that I had and the other things that happened. But then one day when I was around 27, I must tell you, I just decided that I'm bored of being depressed. So I didn't have any therapy or anything like that. And whatever I got was maybe from the Bible or from a few friends. But I was bored of living the same life, the same way, crying to everybody about, oh, I was molested, oh, my life, oh, my life. I decided to make amends. And around that time, I decided to start making changes. And until I think I was 32, that's when I came out to my parents and told them about my molestation. It wasn't easy for them to accept, but I must tell you, it was not easy for me to accept that I am gay until I was 21. I remember praying and saying, if you think that I'm going to go to hell for doing this, then I'll go to hell because that's who I am. And that's what people don't understand. Being gay is not something you choose, it's something you are. And that's very, very important to understand. Now, of course, I know that, it's not even a sin because the Bible clearly doesn't say it anywhere, but people have used it out of context. And there is research which says that all this information isn't exactly what people say to you. But I've been through a lot of study and then I decided to accept myself after doing all this research. So why should my parents accept me right away? But they kind of did. Now, coming out to them, though, was, it was a very big deal. It was like revolutionary for me because it changed my perspective of things. I think sometimes, why did I not do this earlier? But I really take time with everything in life. It may be a millennial thing to do. But once I came out to them, I started to find things that made me happy. So I realized that I had a streak of talent in me that I had forgotten in all my pain. I used to write plays and I used to enact in plays a lot when I was a child. And so I wrote my first play on an LGBTQI subject, which is about being HIV positive. I wrote against other stories like forced marriages. And I also wrote about how we are looked upon as sexual objects in the society and the effects of 377 and how it's crippled our community. Having done all that, while discovering my talents and skills, I realized that the straight world has its own privilege. I was trying to battle my life, trying to figure out how to accept my life for being gay, while others were happily being somebody in their life. Many in my community are still being traumatized by society, or no one seems to want to guide them besides a few people and organizations. And most of you are here, and there are a lot of others, great people who try to do their bit. Now, I wanted to do something for my community, to be the force of direction for them while they were being bullied and harassed and thrown out of their homes for being different. So this is how Color Positive Foundation was born 5 years ago. Through Color Positive, as I said, I've written 4 plays. 2 of them were in the pipeline and didn't happen because of the pandemic. I've made content for the community and helped many artists, and it made a platform to showcase their talent. I've trained people for acting, dancing, modeling, production work, and everything else in between. I also discovered that our community is diverse, and in everything I do, I will never just showcase the gay community, but the entire LGBTQIA plus community. That's a very strong point that we take in Color Positive. And that's why my play, the fashion pageant, dance performances, and everything I do shows inclusivity. Our country is about diversity, and we should accept it wonderfully and create a unified community both in the straight world and inside the LGBTQI as well. For doing this, and of course, a lot of other work, I have received an award, which is called the 101 Top Global Diversity and Inclusion World Leaders Award. Well, over that, of course, my fashion pageant has been happening for the last 4 years, and this will be the fifth year in June of 2022 that I'll have it. I've already trained over 200 models for free. So we don't charge any money from people in the last 4 years, and we give them an experience. And many people who have paid money to do this kind of training, when they have attended our sessions, they say that they've learned more than they learned in those sessions that they paid for. So people usually ask me why a pageant, why plays, why dance performances. It's because it is the forte of my community. We thrive wearing what we love, acting how we want, and dancing how we feel. And Color Positive gives them that platform. So we have provided free 1 month ration kits with injections for trans men and multivitamins and a lot of other things. Over 200 kits have been distributed in Thane, Mumbai, Nasik, and this is all big thanks to the Big Boss season 14 winner, Miss Rubina Dalek. We have now started with providing free HIV self-testing kits, which you can do yourself sitting at home. Then we also do PrEP medication, and somehow we were able to tie up with a private organization called Dr. Safe Hands, who provides us PrEP for just 70% less than what other medical stores would charge. So it's just a pill that keeps HIV away, even if you come in contact with an HIV positive person. And if there is a person who is HIV positive, we educate them that you don't have your life ending. You can live for another 40, 50 years. You can have a married life where you won't get your partner infected. Your child will not become positive. There's a lot that medicine has done, which people are not aware, and the stigma doesn't seem to go away. But we try our bit in whatever we do. Today, of course, I lead people to help them to get direction and control over their lives by connecting them to their inner self. As I said, our community is all about feeling what we want and showing what we want. So this is the platform that I have tried to create over here. If possible, Color Positive goes through a lot of stress. We've not received any projects or any funds from anybody. And we do everything on our own. My entire team does it for free for the last 5 years. And we really struggle. If you know anybody who can help us with some projects so that I can employ the LGBT with me, and I could actually create a space where the LGBT will be able to work and provide opportunities for each other. So that's my struggle, and I hope that someday some person will be able to help me out with that. But yes, on that note, I want to say that I've really enjoyed these 5 years trying to put my best to people. And when I see my own people, succeeding, and there are so many people in my team who've actually gone higher, it makes you feel very good that you're doing something. So yeah, I'm very happy with the work I do, and I'm very happy with all the work everybody does here. And again, thank you so much for giving me this space, both Jerry and Ethan. Thanks.
Thank you, Savio. It's very stellar work that you're doing and great story, a lot of insights, a lot of lessons about
But am I
giving,
in
about
9 minutes?
Yes, you went
Oh.
a little over. You went a little over, but we didn't want to stop you since now everyone has set the tone, starting with Christina. But that said, I must say that Unica is a model, and I think I see a connection between you and Unica Savio, and maybe you all will work together. And I'm very happy that you're giving time and involvement and not just a little money or used clothes or newspapers. And I think that's one of the biggest learning that people in the audience can take away from you. How to give your time, how to give your effort to make the world a better place, to change mindsets, to help people to learn, to enable people become better. Exactly what we do with our moJOsh Magnificent or the Rex Karmovil Global Fellowship. Though we award people, we always say it's not just an award, it's a journey for learning to learn which has begun. Because you don't learn just from the speakers on the stage, you learn from everybody you meet in the fellowship, everybody that you meet. And I would love to attend one of your events in the future. So great work, Savio, and I'm sure that you really understood your vulnerability. The other thing which I want to clarify over here, because a lot of people around the world like to always target the Islamic community, right? Though Judaism, Christianity, and Islamic community all come from the Abrahamical religions, right? And just the other day, a friend was telling me that he sent me a cartoon, animated strip, which said, "Oh, one person is talking about how how he is from the LGBTQAI community," and the other person says, "But isn't that strange that you choose to love another boy?" And then he says, "Why are you being discriminating?" And then I'm also Muslim, right? And she says, "Oh, now you'll say that I'm having Islamophobia." And I tried to tell this friend of mine, I said, it's not only in the Islamic culture that they don't accept people from the LGBTQIA community. It's much worse in Christianity. It's much worse in your Hindu nation, right? And if you don't accept that and we don't understand that, then you are completely, absolutely barking up the wrong tree. Because Catholics don't just want to accept it. You won't accept it, even though most of the Catholic priests indulge in pedophilia, right? Which I think is a crime, because when you force yourself on a child, like Christina has been forced and you have been forced, then that's a crime. That's a crime against humanity, and you should be punished in the worst possible way. But if people choose to whatever their sexuality is and do it in the right way, that is a choice that they can make. And I think we need to understand that it's not just Islam which has this phobia against people from the LGBTQI community, it's also Christianity, and the worst is the Hindutva factions, right? Because they're not only castists, they're also misogynistic, and they're also bigots, right? And I think it drives very deep in most religions, right? Because you're taught that this is not normal, right? And that's the nature and nurture that wires our mindset and starts making us discriminate against alternative genders. So I think I wanted to clarify that, and thank you for bringing that out. And the Christian community and the Catholic community also, it is looked down upon, and people hold you in disdain. So let's not single out Islam. And I think that's a lesson for everybody. I'm often told, why are you so simple? Why are you so sympathetic towards the Islamic community? They are terrorists. And I'm like, nonsense. Why do you say the terrorism? Because they started terrorism. And I'm like, you got your information wrong. The first known organized terrorist outfit in the world was not Islamic. It was Roman Catholic. They're called the Irish Republican Army. And that is the fact, that is the truth, which people don't want to accept. So yes, Christina, you wanted to say something, and after that, over to E2.
Yeah, I've been questioned by priests. Now in Roman Catholic, like the priest and all, they hold the highest place in the community, in the church, because they are the leaders. So I was questioned about my sex, my orientation, and I refused, and I stood in front of them fighting with these priests, saying that I have the right to choose whatever I want to. So yes, when we say like some of these priests are highly literate, but at the same time, they are illiterate. And yes, this is a big time taboo in Christian community. And I do not fear or want to walk away with it, but I just want to stand with the right things. Because like Savio mentioned, Savio, even I have great faith. I read the Bible, I go to church regularly, but off late I have stopped. Because yes, I know the truth about some of the priests, and I have escalated this matter as well. Now, if the Pope is allowing gay marriages, if the Pope says yes to the LGBTQI+++ community, I do not think anyone is above the post, especially in the Christian community. So nobody is above Pope, and they should adhere to it. See what happens in Christian community, they take vows. when they try, when they are, you know, in their vocation and they are on the way of becoming a priest. So some society has 3 vows, some has 4. There is vow of chastity as well. Now, chastity means
And that's in the Roman Catholic
yes,
Church. I'm talking about the Vatican City. But Christina, that said, after taking all their vows, there's pedophilia is one of the biggest problems of the church, right?
I have
And
escalated this.
they've tried to cover it up in several countries and places. And what I want to say is, if you see the new the pictures and portraits of Christ, they're always this, you know, blonde looking guy with blue eyes and fair looking guy, European looking guy, right? Christ was born in the desert, so how does he look like a European, right? So
Exactly.
so what if Christ was black? Would you stop accepting him? What if Christ was gay? Would you stop accepting him, right? We have to look at the good work that they're doing, and I'm saying this very loudly because I'm not a believer, right? I believe that Jesus Christ was a do-gooder. He was a rebel with a cause. He rebelled against the entire institution which was doing wrong. And I think those are the learnings. And I know both of you may be practicing Christians, but I always say that, you know, what is Jesus Christ's biggest teaching? It is forgiveness, it is compassion. And if you're not practicing that, then what Christian are you? You're not a Christian. You just go to church just to
Exactly.
show that you're devout and pious. So I think the church has to have a hard look at itself. And I always say that, you know, probably if they allow the priests to get married, all this pedophilia would stop and the crimes against children would stop.
The
So
sexual
that's
harassment will not be taking places in schools, colleges, and all by some of these
absolutely.
priests.
Absolutely, Christina. Thank you for those insights, and over to you, Itu. Itu. So we have our next speaker. I think Itu's image has frozen.
She's back.
So we have our next speaker. Itu, yeah, over to you.
Yeah. So, you know, Savio, thank you so much. And Christina, I think nobody is above Pope. You said there is nobody above Pope. I think above Pope is humanity.
No,
And that is the religion that you practice.
I
And
was
that is
talking.
above
Yeah.
everything. No
Yeah, I
matter,
was talking in
I'm
Christian
just
community. Yeah. Yes, humanity is
absolutely,
above everyone.
absolutely,
Humanity is above everyone.
absolutely. And one thing that's coming out from everyone's story is, and the learning that we need to take back is that everyone here is dealing with issues that everyone in life deals with. People are dealing with issues. Their relationship issues, their mental issues, their health issues. And over and above that, people from LGBTQI community also have to deal with the issue of acceptance from the human race. And that's what is a learning. And the world is bereft of empathy. And the world is a bad place because there is apathy everywhere. And that's what we need to work on, that the apathy needs to go away and empathy needs to fill in the gaps. And that is where we need to create a better world. Having said that, we move on to our next speaker, and that's Shahbaz Unika. And Unika is also an author, model, and more about her life from her own self. So over to you, Unika.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal to everyone, and a very happy Valentine's Day to all the people, beautiful people here, and also all the viewers who are watching us on Facebook Live. Hi, I'm Unika Shahbaz Khan. Shahbaz Khan given by my parents' name, and I added Unika in it. I feel I am unique. Being born in a male body as a female, I know my soul is female from childhood. I have clear mind that I'm a girl inside in my body, and I'm focused what I want to do. That is acting, modeling. Education is for my upbringing, for my betterment, but the career I want to choose, that is acting, modeling since childhood. But the thing is, there is no one to understand me for that. So I have to do it by own. So I started doing this. First thing I have started doing is to loving and caring my mom. She is the mother of 11 children and I am the number 11 children of her. So I feel she does many things and many more for the family. She gave up for everything, every sacrifices for the family, for the children. So I thought I give her freedom from the kitchen, from the household. So from childhood, I helped her for household. And after my 10th, I have freed from everything from her. I say, you go wherever you want to go, enjoy wherever you want to go. And that's my biggest achievement in life, I feel, to free my mom. And after that, in this, doing this in household and my education, I never let down myself and my dreams. I'm a very much dreamer. I dream every day. I feel I like a heroine. I'm a model. I walk on the roads like a model. Road is for me a ramp. There are the surgeons, the policemen, the rickshaw-men. Everyone says, you look like a model, you're a heroine. These compliments made me more confident, more conscious about my career. That's feel me that I'm going the right way. Because no one questioning what you're doing and why you're doing. And that's, I think I'm lucky that I didn't get any bad comment, any bad situation in my life. So being in home always, because I have to take care of my households and my mom and everything. So I thought like I'm bounding in the four walls. So I thought what would be to do, then I go out. How could I do the modeling? So I'm thankful very much to Facebook actually. This app gonna change our lives. This connects all over the world with us. Being in home, I share my portfolios, my work profiles, and I got work. Really, I got work. I got connected with the people like her. She's like my soul sister. From Facebook, we are gonna in a home, in a social life. Even my original sisters and brothers are not that much connected like she is with me. So it's the best part of Facebook and social media. I say what this technology has the best part of it to being Facebook, and I really want to meet Mark Zuckerberg. Thank him making Facebook. And if I say about my achievements, my first thing I have got to notice myself and started believing in me, that is the show of exhibition, which is held on JW Marriott. There are 1,500 people to watch me in a dress which worn by Sonam Kapoor. And that day I feel I'm a winner, I'm a heroine, I'm a model. Because no one says nothing, just say you look like a heroine. You're so graceful, you're so beautiful, and you're so everyone appreciate. And there is not only the normal people, the normal human beings, there are the designers from Mumbai, Delhi, and many from India. So that's my biggest achievement and my turning point of acting modeling world. I got opportunity to work with Bratto Basu sir. I have seen that movie coming very soon, Chora Palok. So I'm thankful to him also to being chosen me for the scene. And I just recently got me together Women Achievers Award. That's the thing I lose my words. That the people gonna be changed, the people gonna be understand this, just look upon my soul, not upon my body, and they give me the Women Achievers Award. I have done many interviews, many paper cuttings, but these are the feelings which made me higher, inspire, and I have done a book that's a will and way, that's just only for the human, who think, I feel, which we have. We're thankful to God for that, and not to cry what we not have. So what we have, done something from that which inspired many. So will and way based on that, how you have things which you can, like that in photo story, I shows how I wear my blanket as a gown. How I used my best sheet as a sari. So these are the things I want to say. People, be inspired, be happy, be loved, and have your me time, because you are the important. If you are happy, you're gonna make happy everyone. So thank you very much. And thank you, Jerry and Ritu, for giving me this platform. I'm already interviewed by Jerry. So thanks again to him asking me here. And last मैं बताना चाहूँ हिंदी में थोड़ा सा जा रहे हैं. दिल हमेशा बच्चा रखे, बच्चे स्पेशल होते हैं, प्यारे होते हैं. और एक छोटा सा गाना भी हम गा देते हैं. ऐसी उलझी नजर हमसे हटती नहीं, दांत से रेशमी डोर कटती नहीं, उम्र कब की बरस की सफेद हो गई, कारी बदरी जवानी की छटती नहीं, वल्ला ये धड़कन बढ़ने लगी है, सांसों से मेरे उड़ने लगी है, डर लगता है खुद से कहने में जी, दिल तो बच्चा है जी. बहुत अच्छा है. Thank you. I've completed my, I think, 9 minutes. And thank you, Ritu and Jerry and all the viewers. Be happy, be loved, be smiling. Smile is the best thing in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Unika. And she's also written a book, so she's an author. She was invited on the Author Experience some time back, and that's when we got to know about her stellar stories. So each one of you has been paving path for others to walk with more gusto and with more grace and with more panache in the road that is tough any which ways. And now we move on to our next speaker. And for Simran, I'd just like to say an individual has not started living until we can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of the humanity. Martin Luther King said that, and that's exactly what Simran is doing with her work. And she's such an inspiration for not just LGBTQAI plus community, but also for each one of us, that when you go down in the dark pit, when you go down, when you break down, there's always hope to break through. And learning and advocacy and doing something and creating a legacy is always an option. So over to you, Simran, to bring us your stellar stories.
Thank you so much, Itu, and namaskar, everyone. Before I actually start my story, I am going to steal one line, what Jerry said right now, and I'm going to tweak it in my own sentence. Namaskar, dosto. I am not an educated idiot. With that statement, I would like to begin. So, as Itu mentioned, my name is Simran Sheikh Bharucha. I believe, so-called, I believe myself to be completely inclusive because my name, my surname, and my middle name does carry Hinduism, Islamism, and Zoroastrianism. So that's how I consider myself to be a true inclusive person. I want to today share, and I'm sure many of you who are watching us on Facebook Live and my colleagues who are here, sorry, I have a bad throat, but who are watching us on Facebook and my colleagues who are here on the panel. I mean, everybody has heard my story. Everybody has known me. I'm not a famous personality, and I'm a little younger than Ria. I'm just 16 plus, believe me, just 16 plus. But to begin with, my childhood was sort of, I considered as quote unquote as normal as other childhood. Yeah, there were struggles. There were initial days when I started identifying myself. I don't remember the exact age that when I started having this feeling of being a girl, because I was born as a boy, and way back in late 80s and early 90s, we did not have the support of Google Baba. And I come from that era of 80s where internet was also not there. So unfortunately, you know, my struggles to become a woman were from books. and books and film magazines like Stardust, Filmfare. Those were my, like, my inspiration, and desperately searching for just one word: how do you become a girl? That's it, nothing else. All the beautiful actresses and their controversies were kept at bay. Of course, little interested in so-called our Indian heroes, but very much interested in finding that one line: how do you become a girl? Eventually did try to find out, to go, find out from the novels, biographies, frictions, and God knows what I have read in my life. But yeah, finally managed to find that one piece somewhere was written: how to become a girl. And that's where my senses recollect. And I was around 7 and 8, between 7 to 8 year old boy. By the time I became 14, I took so many years to, get myself accepted. And 14 years, little mustache coming. So you become a hero, and, all of a sudden. And that's where, I started having this dialogue one fine day with my parents. And I told them that, I think I want to change and become a girl. And, in true Babas and Babi family, because Zoroastrianism, na? So typical Parsi family, are you mad? The first thing. And after that mad question was some jokes and some, not so good statements were passed while the discussion. And I don't know, that did not sink well with me. So the next morning I decided I should walk out from the house, and I did that. And now that walking out started paving the path of my journey that I am today. Yes, I am a director for trans health at the very good institute, which is known as Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Yes, it is a prestigious position, but the path from moving out of the house till becoming a director was not that very easy. Because my passion, my love, my first carving stuff was to become a woman. And that's where, when I walked out of my house, I came in contact with a beautiful soul who identified herself from the Hijra community. And that's why I proudly say that I'm an Hijra activist. Of course, we all know Hijra, Kinnar is the same thing, but it comes under the, umbrella term of transgender. It's a sub typology. And many individuals behave as though we are invisibly visible. They know that they have seen hundreds and thousands and crores of Simran on the red lights, on the auspicious days of their life, at the openings of their beautiful ventures. Yet, they are the ones who have this phobia that अगर हिजड़ा आ जाता है तो लोग क्या कहें. And my journey is with all these struggles. But as I was growing, I did one good thing in my life. That is, I was passionate about being a girl. And second passionate is being little bit educated. Now, don't ask me how and why and from where did I complete my studies, but I finally completed. That's the bottom line. And that education supported me as my strength, as what I am today. Um, During this life journey of 14 years to what I am, in between, I got fame, uh, I got limelight, I got financial support. I sort of not became a rich person, but yes, I was financially okay, where I could sustain myself. And while the fame came with the one episode that I did with a with a dashing superstar of this Bollywood industry, that gave me a lot of fame. Overnight, I became a celebrity within the Hijra community, within the LGBT community. Until today, people say, "Oh, हमने आपका सत्य में विजय थे देखा था." And I really like when somebody says that. But today on this forum, I also want to, break one myth, which is the uh, biggest mistake of my life. Today, my story talks about acceptance has two sides. Where I took 6 years to accept myself and almost around 18 years to pave my journey. And believe me, the 18 years of my journey, the biggest villain of my life was my biological parents. Unfortunately, in 2017, on my birthday, when I got a call from my parents, my biological parents and my siblings, just not to wish, it was a random call after 17 long years. It was a surprise to me. And when they somehow found my number, they found me out. I thought of, giving it a try and say, now, itne saal ho gaye, let's move on and forget the past. So I decided to start a new journey. One fine day, I was sitting with my dad, and we Parsis, raat ko ek chota sa peck we take. And during that discussion of peg, my father asked me two questions. One, darling, how many years did you take to identify yourself that you are not a boy? And very boldly, Dad, I took around 6 to 7 years to identify myself. And my father asked me the next question, how much time did you give me? And I had absolutely no answer. From that day till date, I have now realized that acceptance cannot be one way. We always, as LGBTQIA community, we always say, society does not accept us. Parents do not accept us. The world does not accept us. Reality is, how much time do we give to the society, to parents, to the world to accept us? That's the part of my journey. That's the learning today that I wanted to share with everyone. Acceptance has two sides. Let's learn to give time for people to understand us and also to accept us. With that beautiful note, I seriously want to thank Itu and Itu and Jerry, but last but not least, Nikki, I love you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on this panel. Love you. Over to you, Itu.
Thank you so much, Simran. That was a stellar, inspiring stories. And, this comes out that parents are also heroes. Your friends are also heroes here in your stories. Your families are heroes. And with you, they've also struggled. And this acceptance that, I take some time to understand myself. So I need to also give some time to my parents to understand. And it all boils down to the fact that, compassion and kindness that the world needs, that passion and kindness we need to give ourselves also. And we at moJOsh Inspirator, lessons and learnings, we talk of compassion as power, Kindness is power, and it all comes from the vulnerability. When we are vulnerable, when we are down and out and breaking down, we go through grief, traumas, pain, and that's when we rise with that hero within us, and that hero paves path like the hero in all of you has done. So before we move on to our last speaker, that is Suhani, she's a model and she's an actor. Again, doing wonderful. And Savio and Suhani has crossed paths and worked together. And that's the beautiful story we are bringing to you. So over to you, Suhani, and let's hear your inspiring story.
Right. Thank you so much for introducing me, Itu, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, Itu and Jerry, along with Savio, so that I can come in this forum and speak and show everybody, or tell everybody about my journey. So it's an honor that I'm a part of this with you all beautiful people out here on this beautiful day of Valentine and sharing this evening together. So to start with, yes, everybody has ups and downs in their lives, and we all have positives and negatives in our life. So just like how a coin has two sides, life also has two sides of it. It's all on how we, accept things, or how we take the things in which way, whether positive or negative. So yes, journey as a guy, Suhan, started off when my parents gave me birth, and they wanted me to obviously. Every parent know that their children during their childhood itself, like what they are. So they try to hide their identity only to ensure that the society doesn't object anything or doesn't question them that ye tera bachcha hai. Okay, so because of that, we transgenders basically, or people from our community face a lot of challenges during their school itself. So that is the journey that I started as a guy, and when I end up at 12, where I believe most of the school gives us education about sex education, and during that time, the education that I received was about a boy and a girl. So when the entire session got over about how the hormonal change happens within a boy, within a girl, I was just sitting and wondering as to, I guess there's something missing in this entire session. And I thought of going and asking the teacher, but then I again stayed back because I did not know whether she would answer me or not. As in the end, she said, that's all about the gender that we had to train today. And there is no further sex education. So we had just this 1 hour in this entire year where we got trained on. Now, this something got troubling me because what I am, I know it. And this was something not trained to me. I had my very close friends in childhood who had the same question, involved in his head that, किसको मैं जाके बोलूं ये चीज, क्योंकि हम ना फैमिली को बोल सकते हैं और अगर दोस्त को बोले तो मजाक तो डेफिनेटली उड़ेगा, जो कि उड़ता ही था. Okay, if you pass by a street or even if you eat or if you just talk a bit, आपकी आदतें, आपकी मैनरिज्म्स लोग कैप्चर करते हैं, उससे ही वो समझ जाते हैं कि ये हिजड़ा है, ये गुड़ है, ये मीठा है, या all these terms that we get to know. So still strongly I said forget it, I'll let's see how the journey goes and I'll get to know what's my identity, someone or the other who I'll meet, and I would get to know about it. Slowly, gradually, I crossed my school age. Then I started with my college. That's when I was in a relationship with a guy, and till then again nothing was opened as such. But I had a breakup done at a very early age because the person was getting married. He was quite elderly, and that made me trouble from in. Like now, definitely, I want to find out what exactly the concern is with me. I sat at home. I was literally crying the entire day. That's when my mom is a teacher, so she happened to come home and she said, "What happened? Why are you crying?" So I don't know what happened. I just said her that, Mom, I want to confess something to you. So she's like, "What?" Then that's when I confessed it. I said, "I don't know firstly what I am, because as for whatever we got to know, I do not think I belong to A and B." So she said, "Okay, so is that all you want to say?" So I said, "No, this is not the end. The second is I was in a relationship with a guy and the guy is getting married. So I don't know now what to do." So this is how I came out to my mom. So I was also not confident enough, but I just speak what was there to her. The best thing that I liked about my mom was she just smiled and she told me that you know what, this is pretty normal. ये होता है. और जब तक इंसान धोखा नहीं खाएगा तब तक वो जिंदगी में आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. And this is what is a lesson that my mom gave me. She said, I am happy with whatever you are. Don't worry, I'm not forcing you, but I want you to complete your education, because today I am there. I will support you wherever it is needed. But tomorrow, when I'm not there, you are only accountable for your life. So ensure you complete your education, do whatever you want. You buy a property for yourself, because I'm not sure where you will live, because घर वाले तुमको बेरोजगार कर देंगे तो तुम रास्ते में रहोगे. मैं देखी हूँ हिजड़े लोग की जिंदगी कैसी होती है. So she said, I am okay for you to become a transgender, but you need to promise you get yourself educated, get a property on your name, and that's when you can do whatever you want to do with your life. And I am there with you in all aspects. So the strength that she gave me has made me move ahead. Because of her, I'm a postgraduate. Because of her, I have my own property in Mumbai in the Western Line, which is, I mean, obviously, no, it's a dream come true for me that at a very less span of age of 21, I did that. Now I'm 28. But once I achieved her dreams, I said, okay, now I feel like I can live my life. Though I had all the hurdles about, financially, that I have to pay the EMIs, which I'm still paying on. But somewhere down the line, I had a dream that, mujhe television I used to watch. So that was something used to always engage me. So modeling, acting, whenever I used to see, Deepika Padukone, so I'm a big fan of her. So the way she walks, and also even I used to imitate her, and I used to do everything at home, wearing mom's clothes. And, that's how I ended up, and I know that I'm a transgender. Having said that, I started my dream. I walked a pageant, which is Gaurav. And over there, I met my guru. The reason why we say our guru in our community is because after a family, those are the people who are accountable for our life's journey as a transgender. Okay, so Kinnar Samaj, Hijra Samaj, ये सब एक ही है. बट गुरु हम उनको पद इसलिए दिए जाते हैं क्योंकि वो माँ समान होती है. जब हमारा बायोलॉजिकल फैमिली के बाद जो फैमिली होती है वो ये होती है, इसलिए हम उनको पद देते हैं गुरु बोल के. तो उन्होंने मुझे देखा और उन्होंने मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया शक्ति सीरियल में पहले काम करने के लिए इन द ईयर 2018. सो फ्रॉम देयर माय लाइफ चेंज्ड. I started working as पहले मैं बैक स्टेज, मतलब वो पीछे पीछे खड़े रहने वाला रहता था. And then slowly, gradually, I came ahead. I started delivering dialogues, and that's how I became an actor. Equivalent to my guru, I have more two people who are equally important in my life journey. Is my other guru, who is Amna from Lucknow. She has entitled me as a brand ambassador for Joban Binda. Joban Binda is nothing but helping people who are more discreet in our own community. In this community, in LGBTQAI there are many people who are discreet. There are in fact, I should say this world is full of bisexuality, because the clients that we meet are more discreet, and they love to see the woman side of them. So I basically see that there are many individuals who are men who come and dress up as a woman and want to be like a woman, but just because of the society they aren't. So I love that I'm entitled to Joban Binda, who's giving opportunity to such people to live their life at least for a few hours or maybe for a day, whatever they are offering. And apart from that, I must say that Color Positive since 2019 is with me, and has given me a great opportunity to walk the pride with a crown and a sash. And when I had won a title of Max Queen Rainbow, that was for trans. So it was my first pride, and walking in the crown and wearing the sash had a very different feeling. And that made me, when I looked at my community in 2019 Pride, it made me feel somewhere down the line that yes, I need to do something for my community. And that's when I moved ahead. Apart from my professional work, I started doing some social work as well. I engaged myself with Color Positive and engaged myself with Kinnarma Trust. where whatever I can do in assisting my community for getting sponsors, or contacting transgenders or lesbians, trans men, any people from our community where they require food or they require any kind of help assistance, is what I try to get engaged with. So yeah, that's my very small journey, I must say. But then yes, I'm I know it's a very small journey, but looking forward that I do a lot for my community, and I'm for sure that you guys will be there with me whenever I need. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suhani, and thank you so much for being so candid and talking about your life journey with so much of candor. And a very beautiful learning that you brought in was that how our education system is flawed. There are flaws there, and it does not, teach us or does not skill us to look and go and live a life outside. I'm not saying the education is not required. Yes, education is needed, degrees are needed. But how do you make use of that education? Do you really go out and make the world a better place? Do you also care to, bring out the aspects that are missing in education? Like you said, as a child, you understood that where is that third part? Where is that part missing? And I think that should be included in our system. I'm not sure if it is there in the NAP. We've talked about that in our learning programs, but it should be included. That's the reality and beauty of life, of being a human being, and that should be included. And as we say that in life, no one is bereft of pain, hardships, and struggles, suffering and obstacles, grief and adversity. All of us break down at some point or the other in life. When broken, we feel helpless and give up and break down. Very few persevere with resilience and grit and rise and break through. So thank you so much for each one of you to bringing in this story of resilience, of grit and courage. It's a lesson for us, and all of you should know that you also have been nominated for the Rex Karamveer Global Fellowship, which we are hoping, inshallah, that it's going to be in November 2022. So we'll get to meet you in person and inspire more and more people out there at large who will be there. So on that note, any last few words from all of you, and then we shall close. Would you like to say any last closing words? Simran, Ria, Savio, anyone?
Okay. I know I speak a lot, but I love talking because I'm a woman. Okay. All that we could do is first love yourself, self-love, self-care. It begins from there. I literally go out because there are people who have told this to me in my past and even now. You've never been loved by your parents. We've seen you growing up, staying with your aunt and stuff like that. So how do you manage to give love? I don't know. That's the inborn in me. Every morning I get up. The first thing I do is I go to the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror and I smile, because I believe when I smile looking at myself, I transfer a lot of positivity in me. And that's how I'm able to get into the slums, on the streets, pick up these children with, the nose flowing, and whether they're shitting on the road, pooping or whatever, I just try to clean them up, feed them whenever possible. I literally go inside the slum areas, speaking to the females, speaking to the children out there, because I love doing that. That's the love that I can share with humanity.
Thank you so much, Christina. Suhani?
Okay, yeah. So adding up to Christina, yes, love is something very important. Along with that, I would also like to conclude that we should respect one another, especially because we feel that transgenders लोग क्या सोचते हैं कि हमें इज्जत नहीं मिलती, ठीक है, इसलिए हम इज्जत क्यों दें? But then I want to convey the message that think positive. इज्जत तुम दोगे, डेफिनेटली इज्जत मिलेगा. मुझे मिलता है, हम सबको मिल रहा है, आप लोगों को भी मिलेगा. तो इज्जत दीजिए और इज्जत लीजिए. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Last closing words? before we pack up?
Simran and Unica.
I think there was Savio's hands which he had raised. So I think after Savio, then I'll go and then Unica can go. Savio, over to you.
Thank you so much, Simran. So I just want to say that, like Suhani just mentioned, we require to show that we get respect as well. We don't just give respect or expect respect all the time. But I must say that when you look at this entire panel of 7 people that you have, brought forward, Itu and Jerry, you can see the diversity in our community. Yeah, you can see someone who has made the way for many in our community through Simran. You can see how Christina is helping the straight community without thinking about if they are, boy, girl, trans man, trans woman, whatever be their gender, their children, she's supporting them. You can see our community, Suhani as well as Unica, who are trying to pave the way into getting into what people look at and what they should also look at. They're not just going to look at women and men. They have to look at the third gender. They have to accept them and make them a part of the society. And then, of course, never to forget Ria, because she is the other person who people usually don't talk about, the they, them, the aspect of being accepted for who they want to be called. So we have a great, group of people who are here in this panel who are talking about diversity. And I think this is exactly what your mission was, to talk to people about this wonder that exists in all the diversity. So yeah, I really thank you again for giving us this platform, and thank you all of you for being here and making this diverse, session with all of us.
Thank you so much, Savio. The whole idea about all our programs is the learning and the awareness that we bring. And such a beautiful panel of people who are not just paving paths, also are the change champions of change, as we call it, and are creating a legacy of change, creating a legacy to make the world a better place. So over to you, Simran.
Very quickly, Itu, I think after love, respect, and acceptance, what my colleagues did mention, I think I just want to say one sentence is be dreamer and then follow to achieve your dream.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Monica, you were...
Could I just say something that I missed? Without really thinking, I just want to say one thing. I had all of you there and I somehow missed Nikki. I apologize. I wanted to say that she brings on the table one of the most difficult chapters in humanity, which is bisexuality. And she is the one who goes and attends all our events and actually speaks up for us. And that's the part I forgot. I'm so sorry, but that's the uniqueness that you bring to the table today. Sorry about that.
Thank you for remembering to include me. So very quickly that you brought that up, but bisexuality is really by far one of the toughest sexualities actually to be, because people, as I started my statement, people think that, oh, you have the best of both worlds, but what do you mean I have the best of both worlds? I'm not allowed to be polygamous anyway, because that's not how society accepts you. And that's not maybe a way of life for everybody. But then that doesn't change the fact that, I am bisexual. I've also been questioned by a lot of my lesbian friends, but we've never seen you with a woman ever. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't need to bring my bedroom secrets to you anyway. So thank you so much, Savio, for finally recognizing.
Great.
I had just organized, a get together with the name.
Christina, we are way above our time. Let's.
I'll just take a few seconds. I had just organized an event with the name We Love, which was featured also in a Bengali news channel. Now, We Love is basically where anyone and everyone can walk in to this particular party without being discriminated, without being judged. That's it, Itu. Thanks.
And I want to say that like Suhani, we are from same field, acting, modeling. मैं थोड़ी फिल्मी हूँ. कुर्सियाँ बदलती रहो, dear जिंदगी, जब तक fit ना हो तुम उस कुर्सी में.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Be happy. Good night and love you all.
Ria, our youngest panelist, would you like to say something?
Humbled to be a part of this. I am too humbled to be talking in a panel of my inspiration. So it's rather better to listen to everybody for me at this stage and absorb all the knowledge, because I have too less of the awareness that you all have. So yeah, I'm just humbled and thank you for being a part of this. And this is going to be really close to my heart. So yeah.
Thanks so much, Itu and Jerry. I mean, it's really very humbling that you guys have brought all of us together on one panel, and we are here today only because of your hard work. I really praise and thank you both. I don't know how, but you managed to get everyone on the same platform.
So thank you to all of you. Thank you to Nikki. Big thanks for helping me to curate this beautiful, helping us.
Pleasure.
And thank you so much for great learning that we are going to carry forward, and wishing you all a very happy Valentine Day. This has been by far my most beautiful Valentine, and look forward to learning more with you and look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Good
you
night.
so
Happy
much.
Valentine's.
Thank you, everyone.